Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Technically Something, the show where we talk about technology, creativity, tutorials, and gaming. I'm your host, Kevin Allen, and in this video, what we are going to do is make a animal hybrid, but we're going to be using Gimp to do it. And for those of you who have no clue what I'm talking about, an animal hybrid is basically something like this. And really, all we have to do is combine two animals of our choosing, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a way that is non-destructive to the file and is just pretty cool and easy. So let's go ahead and get to it. So first thing we're going to do with Gimp open is go to File, New, and just like before, if you want to make it a standard screen size of 1920 by 1080, that's perfectly fine. Just because I think a lot of times people want to print this stuff out, I like to make projects the size of a piece of paper. So I'm going to make mine horizontal, so that will be 11 inches by 8.5 inches tall. And definitely make sure that you click here and select inches, because if you do 11 by 8.5 pixels, that's going to be teeny. So once we have this set up, we'll go ahead and click OK. And now we have our artboard ready to go. So I'm going to create two new layers. So one, and let's just call this Animal 1. And then I'm going to make another one called Animal 2. Cool. So I will select Animal 1. And then I basically had a few pictures that I already found because I just kind of have an idea of what animal I want to make. But if you're still looking, then I just literally searched animals on Google, and when you find an image, hover over it, and in this lower left-hand corner, you'll see the size of the image. Try to go for something that's at least 1500 pixels wide or tall, because if you get something that's 600 to 800 pixels, it's not very big. So try to get something that's at least between 1000 to 1500 pixels and you should be good to go. So I'm going to right click, copy image, and I will go back to Gimp. And here I'm going to hit Control V, paste that image, and just click to the side and see that just committed that picture to the Animal 1 layer. So I'll go to Animal 2, go back to my search, and same thing. And of course, right after I say, don't do something that's teeny, I found a picture that is 423 by 639. So just to show you how small that can be, I'm going to right click, copy image, go back to Gimp, and paste, Control V. And see how much smaller that is? And the problem is, you might be thinking, oh, well, I could just change the scale of this layer, right? So we'll go to Layer, Scale Layer, and now I'm going to increase the size of it. So the height, I don't know, let's push this up to at least, I'm gonna say triple this. So 8, 16, 24, let's go with 25 inches. And here we go. So this picture isn't super bad from here. Now if I zoom in though, you can start to see the difference in quality. Like, let me move this picture to the side. And see, it's not horrible, but if you look at the areas of the fence, I'll zoom in a little bit more here. See the difference in quality? The one on the left was almost 25, I think it was 2,500 pixels wide. And then this one on the right was 400, 600, somewhere in that range. And you can see the difference once we start expanding it, once we scale it up. And that's because it only has so many pixels. So those pixels expand and become pixelated. That's where that whole thing comes from. I'm basically going to combine these two. I want to put the really high quality picture's head on this body because I have to, because it looks cute. So what I will do is put this layer down underneath Animal 1. And before we go any further, what you need to do is create a mask on this layer. I'm going to right click this layer and I'm going to add layer mask. And again, this is for the current version of Gimp. I'm not sure if older versions have masking like this, but if if your version doesn't, either upgrade or you could try using other techniques such as the healing tool that we already went over to accomplish the same sort of look and feel. So with that mask activated, we noticed that everything disappeared. And that's just because the mask hides everything. It's almost like it erases it, but it's not permanent. So if I were to get a brush and make the color of it white, and then paint here, suddenly it's there. And that's because if you look at the mask here, I painted white and everything else is black. And when you have layer masks, black equals hidden, white equals showing, okay? Think of it as like you hide in the dark. So if you have black, that's the darkness, white is the light, and that's how we show things, is with the light. So I'm going to bring back just the parts that I want of this cute little finnick fox. Is that how you say it? Finnick fox? Either way. A little bit more in this ear over here. And now what I need to do is shrink this to, oop, I'm on the mask. Oops. So you want to select the layer, and I'm going to bring up this head a little bit. And now I need to scale this down. And something that's much faster than scaling the layer every time through the menu is using the scale tool. You can access this with Shift S. And now we can grab the sides here and shrink it down manually. And if you want to scale it towards the center, you can hold Control or Command as you drag in. All right, let's say that's good. And now I can drag this up here. And so now we're at a point where we got to get rid of all this stuff around it, right? So this is where I tend to zoom in and start really taking my time with the brush on the mask layer. So I will go back to my paint brush and shrink down the size. That's better. Make sure that your fill color is black now, because remember, you hide things in the dark and you show them in the light. So now I can go through and paint black until it kind of goes over these edges. And you might have noticed that I'm using a brush that has a soft tip, and that is, or I guess I could say a soft edge, and that is because it helps blend things together a little bit better than something that is smaller. So I'm just gonna blend that a little bit more. And now our finnick fox has a little fro, and I love it. Just continue to work around those edges with your black brush and make sure that you're on the mask. Select the mask and then start painting, okay? If nothing happens and you notice that you're painting white or black over your animal, that means that you have your animal's picture selected and you're painting on top of that. So just make sure that you select your mask. So for this portion, I'm going to go ahead and speed things up so you can see the process and it goes a little bit quicker. And here we are. So while you were watching that, you may have noticed that I increased and decreased my brush size. If you get a larger, soft brush, you have to think that the center of the brush is going to be really concentrated and the edge is going to be nothing, right? So it's very smooth in the middle. So if you want to make a gradual transition, like how I did underneath the chin, then you make the brush bigger and click outside of where you want it to go, because it's like spray paint in a way. It'll kind of spread in there. And if it doesn't exactly work, you can always hit Control or Command Z to take a step back and try again. Now in this case, I was very methodical about what two animals I wanted to choose. Both of them have white fur, so combining both together made this very easy, okay? However, if you are working with two animals that are completely different colors and you want to sort of blend some of that in, remember that you have the healing brush And you can go and sample a part of the animal's fur and put it somewhere else. So if I hold control, I can sample, let's just say, so it's noticeable, I'll select this part of the ear. And then if I go to the layer underneath and paint, see how it added that fur onto the other layer. So you could do the same thing, say if you had a hawk and you wanted to combine the feathers from the hawk onto the head of a giraffe. You could do that by sampling those with a healing brush and painting them on the giraffe layer. Kind of a weird example, but you could do that if you want. And the challenging part with Gimp is that if you want to make color adjustments or anything to your photo that is non-destructive, kind of like the mask that we did earlier, it's a bit more challenging because they don't have adjustment layers. So you would have to go into colors over here, and you have a lot of different options. You can do color balance, temperature, saturation, exposure, brightness and contrast, levels, curves, all of these different things. But when you do it, it's going to be a destructive change. So if I make a change here, you can see it's altering the photo's light qualities, the light and shadow. And when I click OK, it applies it. But now, if I wanted to remove those curves or the changes that I did, say, I don't know, 2 days from now, if I just look and I'm like, man, I liked it better before those curves were put in, or before the lighting was changed or the color or saturation, then you're kind of out of luck because by then you saved and backed out. So I'm gonna hit Control Z. So one way that we can get around this is to organize a couple versions of our layers. So I'm going to right click on the layers panel and I'm going to select new layer group, okay? And this will create a folder, which I can call original build or whatever makes sense to you, okay? Then you're going to drag these images into that folder. It might disappear, and that's just because the order of the layers got mixed up. So you can drag this down underneath, and there it is again, okay? So I'm going to take this whole folder, and I'm going to duplicate the folder. So now we have two different versions, and I'm going to turn off the eye for the bottom one, and I'm going to rename this one adjustment build. So with this one, I can go back over to colors, and inside here, I can make these changes. So if I go to color, and let's change the saturation, I'm just gonna blow it up. And we can see that it's making those changes to just the head layer. And I will go to the animal's body, and let's change the levels. And I do suggest you kind of play around with these and just see what they do. It's basically a lot of messing around with sliders and just seeing what happens and then clicking OK. We've made those changes to those layers. Now, if I don't like what I just did, I can hide it and I still have the backup of the original. Okay, so that's why we do that. So in Gimp, that is how you can edit non-destructively in a way, because you'll have a backup of those original layers. Now, once you're finished with your animal and made all of your adjustments, make sure that you go and save your file. Again, as a reminder to anyone in my class, make sure to use your first and last name followed by the name of the assignment. And then since you have to turn in a couple of these, just call it Animal 1. And then after you do this one more time with a completely new animal hybrid, you'll call that Animal 2 in the file. And that about wraps it up for this tutorial, guys. I hope that it was helpful and that you're having some fun creating some weird creatures using Gimp. Make sure to share some. If you were able to post any online, send links into the comments. I would love to see what you create. In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay positive, stay healthy, and start creating some weird creatures. I'm Kevin Allen, and this was Technically Something. See you soon.